Okay, this is Virtua Racing Deluxe on the Sega 32X, and it's a little bit different from, well, the Mega Drive version, even though it was made by the same developers, so this is AM2. But what they've done is, other than souping up the Mega Drive game, they've added these 2 extra tracks, so I'll come on to those later on. But what I'll do, I'll just show the game as it would be on the Mega Drive, just to compare, or even the arcade. So this is the standard car on track 2. I don't really like track 1, so you probably won't see that. I don't think I did it on the Mega Drive one either. But anyway, this is my favourite track of the 3. The other one's a bit hard. You'll probably notice straight away that the screen resolution's a lot higher than the Mega Drive version, so at least you can see the cars coming up, because the Mega Drive one's really fast, and I'm not sure why the game was speeded up, or at least compared to this in the arcade version. But because of the low resolution, you can't see the cars, they're just these flickering blobs that if you touch, it makes you spin like that, which is not good. But I prefer this version, I think, out of all the home releases. Should I count the PS2 one? Yes and no, that's more or less arcade perfect, but if we just think about the Mega Drive version with the SVP, this version, and the Saturn one, I think they're all good in different reasons, and I suppose one reason I'm looking at this game is having a discussion with a guy called Riddler on YouTube, who, how to describe him, he's really a Sega Saturn Japanese import connoisseur, if he doesn't mind me describing him that way. But we're talking about Virtua Racing on the Saturn, and I'm not really a fan of it, and I think that version's quite different. But if we start with the Mega Drive one, it's impressive because it's got the SVP chip, and this one really is that game, but, well, souped up really. It plays, I think it plays the best out of all 3, because you've got the slightly more stable frame rate, and it plays more like the arcade one. Whereas the Saturn game wasn't made by AM2, it's not even a conversion, it's a remake almost by Time Warner, and they changed it a little bit, and I think if you've never played either the Mega Drive or this version, you might actually like the Saturn version, because it's got a lot more to it. There's something like 20 tracks or 10 tracks, something like that, and it's got the original 3, but Time Warner added a whole bunch of extra ones, so you get this Grand Prix mode, and as a home release it's much better value. But I didn't quite get on with it. Something didn't quite feel right, whereas I think this version feels the closest to the arcade, even though it's only got, well, 3 tracks and these extra 2, which are they're okay. They're not as good as this, whereas I think the Saturn one had a load of really interesting extra tracks that in a way remind me of Ridge Racer in some ways. Not the earlier ones, but the later games. The music's really strange on this, because you don't really get proper music. You get these little jingles when you go past the, pay attention, when you go past the time extensions. Like flashing, extend time. I'll have to have a look at the other 2 versions in later videos. So I've got the Saturn version of the game, although I didn't have it on the room tour. It was in a box somewhere with a few other games, so I'll have to maybe do an addendum. But anyway, I'd like to compare the 3 of them and just see, you know, what's better in each of them. They've each got their own strengths. Waffling. Right, what I'll do now is just show a different car. So if I do stock car, which reminds me of Daytona in a way, I'll do the Highland track, which I suppose is fitting given my recent upload of the trip to Scotland. But anyway, I didn't go to the Highlands. The frame rate on this is not good. Yeah, I can see what AM2 have tried to do. They've tried to make something which is a bit different and a bit more improved, but I think that the frame rate really has suffered on this track in particular. really jerky. You've really got to use the stock car on this because you've got these 90-degree turns. It's, well, I don't know if you, well, you could do it in the F1 car, but I don't think you'd get very far. I just love the ability to, you know, power slide in Virtua Racing. I think that's really cool. And it does make the other 2 tracks, or the other original 2 tracks, or 3 even tracks, a lot more different. You can tell I'm trying to concentrate. But yeah, so you've got the 4 views, just like the arcade version. For some reason I'm only using the 3-button pad. I should have used the 6-button because you can skip directly to the views. I don't really like the in-car view on Virtua Racing. Any of them really. The in-car view tends to be my preferred one, but I just find it really hard to see where you're going. It's a shame you didn't get like a bumper cam like Daytona and Sega Rally. I'm not sure if this came out before Sega Rally, but there's a certain power sliding drift to this, or thing to this. Yeah, I'm trying to, oh. Yeah, this is where it gets a bit tricky. If you've got a decent frame rate, you can put up with the slightly low resolution, but if you've got a bad frame rate and you've got a bad resolution, it's hard to see where you're going, which I think is where the Saturn version really excels, because it's got, you know, a high frame rate and a better resolution. I can't remember if it has the extra tracks from this game or whether it's just the original 3. I'm really quite curious to play that now. But what I think I'll do probably for this week, or end of this week, is upload a few more 32X games, because I've not really shown many games off. I've got I've got to look down and try not to crash. 6 6 games, and the 3 that are my favourite are this Virtua Fighter, which is a really good conversion, and I think it's better than the Saturn version. It was a bit more refined. It was almost like they got it right the second time around. And the Star Wars game, the Star Wars Arcade, that's a really good game, and it makes good use of the, well, I suppose limited hardware of the 32X. Oh, am I going to make it? Just final lap. The other ones are Doom, which I'll look at briefly. I'm not really a fan of that. I bought that quite cheap as just a curiosity years ago, and I've not played it that much. But the other one that I do want to look at is Knuckles Chaotix, which is an interesting game, and it is a Sonic game, but it isn't. I've gone through the fence then. Right, I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, so the next one I'll do is Virtua Fighter, and then leave the other games as a bit of a mystery. You can probably guess what they are. Thanks for watching.